Hey y'all, I'm Courtney.
And I'm Sara.
And this is Bodice Tipplers,
the podcast where we read all the books we used to steal off our grandmother's nightstands.
And then we drink about it. On this episode, we read Magic's Pawn by Mercedes Lackey. Trigger warnings include suicide ideation and suicide, bad families, homophobia, both internalized and, just outward and gross. We also have Equicide. We've got Extreme Makeover Mystic Native Healer Edition, some serious sad boy music, and the mopiest little motherfucker you ever met. And then we've got the gayest wizard outfit of all time. And that bar is high. There are a lot of gay wizard outfits out here.
That is true. Well, in general, Mercedes Lackey does deliver on the gay wizard outfit.
I mean, I felt like that his little jacket just had bespangled in the back gay.
No, that's what the Heralds wear. I'll explain that when I explain the Heralds.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Guess what? It's sci-fi time. Everybody knows it's Courtney's favorite time.
Damn it, Courtney. It's not sci-fi time.
Fantasy? What do we call it?
It's fantasy. It's high fantasy.
High fantasy. I'm so sorry.
It's Prancy Pony fantasy.
Prancy Pony fantasy. We're doing some fanfic of Pony Bros. Not really.
Yeah, some of you are already so super fucking psyched about this book, and then some of you are like, "What is that?" I thought we were talking about Joanna Lindsay on this podcast.
I was one of those people who was like, "What is that?"
Yeah, this is if you were the mopey horse girl who also really loved really wanted a Pegasus instead, is what you ended up with this, and you ended up with Anne McCaffrey. And we already did an Anne McCaffrey episode. So, this is the only possible way to go from here. And so this was actually the first book that I ever read that had, not just a gay protagonist, but a gay protagonist where his, it's a romantic book. It's not a romance novel because it's sad, 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 sad. But, and his romance is taken, very seriously, and there's sex in it. And, and all the books that I read now, I'm like, oh, ha-ha, they all have a little bit of a lineage, I guess, to Mercedes Lackey for me. But Courtney has never heard of these books.
No, while you're reading these, I was watching Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, and Newsies. That.
I did like Sister Act 2, I'll tell you that. But
Back in the Habit. You put the whole fucking name on that movie.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Anyway, sorry. Sarah and I have this is where we've taken a little break for a minute, and now we're how do we talk to each other face to face again? This is strange. Usually we just type it at a computer. So, yeah. But usually when we think it's a disaster, that's kind of the ones y'all like. So we're going to work out the rough edges here.
So I had to explain these books to Courtney, who just read one. And, I went back and actually reread this trilogy and remember the rest of them relatively
Did you cry?
Not on reread, but man, I used to read these books to cry. I used to just enjoy wallowing in the grief.
You put your Elliott Smith on, you start reading, the world is terrible, everything is sad.
See, what you had to understand is that at the time, YA was not really a publishing category. So these were adult books, but it reads like YA of the kind that understands how important and immense everything feels when you are 16.
Oh, it does. This is sadder and more angstier than the turf queens, half-blood prince. This.
Oh, much.
This kid is making.
Forget that owl. Whatever. Yeah.
This kid is making 16-year-old Harry Potter, who's old. Nobody understands me. Seemed like he's social and well enough.
Yeah. I read this when I was 11. I was he understands me finally. Somebody gets what I'm going through. I'm no, God damn, Sarah, calm your fucking tits.
He does not want you to calm your tits. He has no interest.
No, he does not have any interest in your tits. So anyway, let me explain these books to Courtney.
Okay.
So imagine if Pretty White Ponies ran the government.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's medieval, right? So whatever, right?
I watched the Doctor Who episode or two.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly. So there are pretty white ponies with blue eyes, and their little hoofsies sound like bells, and they never get dirty for too long, and they're beautiful and amazing. And you can't be king unless the pretty white pony has chosen you. And you can't be the king's advisor. I guess let's go with vizier, unless the truly immortal. Only, I guess sometimes they go swapsies in places. Pretty White Pony has chosen you. You can't be a fucking judge. Guess what? Pretty White Ponies.
So I think when she's these ponies pick people.
Yep.
And start talking to them through their minds. And it's hey, you're mine now. I like you.
You're going to be part of the judicial system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody else gets taxed. Don't get me wrong.
I don't.
And there is a council, but honestly, it's just Pretty White Ponies.
Yeah.
And so if you don't get chosen, if you are the king's son and you don't get chosen by a pretty white pony, you're obviously a garbage person, because a pretty white pony only chooses the best and the kindest and the most gentlest and the best people. And that's how you can tell who the good ones are. And also you just can't be king. It's pretty white ponies all the way down.
That's fair.
Yeah, obviously. So if your pretty white pony dies, so do you. If you die, so does your pretty white pony, with the exception of that whole thing with the king's own. It's very strange. I don't even... I guess she hadn't thought it all the way out when she wrote that.
So this is even more fucked up when we get to the thing that happens with the thing.
Yeah. So you better be like...
That pony was a bitch.
Yeah, you better really fucking careful with yourself, because if you care about your pretty white pony who talks... don't get lockjaw. I mean, don't step on a nail. Don't eat the wrong fucking mushroom.
Also, don't get a bitch of a pony.
Well, you don't get to pick. They pick.
That's too much.
Well, it turns out, I guess this is a spoiler. Spoiler alert. You figure out books and books and books and books into this. The pretty white ponies are unless they're grove-born, in which case they're probably gods or something. The other ones are just reincarnated heralds. They're just dead people that you've already met. You see Savile again, so, that's nice.
Well, Savile hasn't died for me yet.
Well, she's old in the book. That's not a spoiler.
That means she's 41.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's the age of old in all of these books is 41.
And this is like a sort of a quasi-medieval world, which honestly does feel good and lived in for everything except for the pretty white pony stuff. That's weird, because the stuff at the castles feels like pretty lived in. And then the entire judiciary system is predicated on horses.
Anyway, so you can tell this is a Sara jam. She gets things that she loves. She gets bureaucracy and she gets horses. So
yeah, and also magic that only special people can do. And of course, when you're a kid, of course, what do you dream of? God, I hate using this fucking analogy now. Instead of saying get your Hogwarts letter, now I'll say your companion shows up and picks you.
Yes.
And you're surely the companion or the owl or whatever will see how special and amazing I am and pull me out of this drudgery, by which I mean having my own phone line with a clear see-through plastic phone that I got from selling
That was
candy.
the top tier phone.
Yeah.
Was that clear phone?
Well, no, I got it from selling chocolate bars.
My mom just bought mine.
Well, no, I worked for a
You
living.
worked for you.
So yeah, that's the kind of the background, the idea of this. Now, some of you are barfing and some of you are like, tell me more. Let me tell you that I don't know if this is still going on, but when these books were hot, there was a thing that was almost like Girl Scouts or whatever that you could do. Is an internet thing that did have a quasi-official business to it, where you could go and be a herald or be a hawk brother or whatever. And what it included was take fucking dressage lessons or be an apprentice falconer. Go and spend the rest of your life.
This is rich people nonsense, though.
I think it's kind of aspirational teenager nonsense.
That's true, too.
But people did it, or big service projects and stuff, because it really resonated with people. So these are really important books for a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of those people are LGBTQIA people, because this is the first book I'm sure a lot of people came in contact with that treated gay romance as a important and special and big deal.
And big old nerds.
There's a lot of crossover in my personal experience.
I'm joking. I did enjoy this book. I liked it better than the Dragon book.
It was more, I think, more well written than the Dragon book, quite frankly. Going back and rereading the Dragon book, I'm like, this is a little rough around the edges. Of course, this is not her first book. No. This is her second trilogy. I read so much of her, though. Oh, man, there's some elves who race cars books that she read that I read all of.
Why do they need to be in cars?
No, they have elven steeds that turn into cars because they just really
But they're owls.
Elves.
Oh, I thought you said owls.
There is an owl one also.
I thought you said there were owls that race cars.
Oh, no.
Why are these owls in cars?
No, I would read that. Oh, my God. Of course I would read that. Obviously.
Who Fast, Who Furious?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Go in the corner. In the corner.
All right, so tell us about this lady that wrote
so Mercedes
Magic
Lackey.
Time.
Yeah, Mercedes Lackey it's funny. Later this will come up. People are like, she's so old. You have to forgive her everything. She's only 70, y'all. That's not that fucking old. Maybe. Well, I mean, I used to think 70 was old, but now that I am 43, I do not think that 70.
I don't want to talk about age. I'd like to leave that out of the conversation, please.
Yeah, so she's an author who she's always been an author pretty much. She went to Purdue. She, started as just in the science fiction fan realm. Big filker. Some of those people are the people who will put the ballad lyrics. You don't know that word.
It's fine. It's fine.
Usually fan related folk music. There's a lot of Star Trek ones, and yeah, okay.
Okay.
But, you know, lots of like zines and that sort of thing. You know, she came up through that, and like, you know, she kind of worked with CJ Sherry, who is amazing, and I love her. And
so it's like she started in early versions of fan fiction.
Yeah. Which doesn't it kind of smell like that? Doesn't it have that like a bit of a vibe?
It's, you know, like, and it's so cool to see all these like authors who are not obviously the 50 Shades of Grey lady, but other people like who do that. You know, like I think Salika Snyder always talks about her fanfics that she has still. And it's, I don't know, I think it's cool to see authors kind of going back to that. And it used to be that thing that people would always talk about, like, how dorky it fucking was. And now, like, it's a lot of people kind of make their bones doing it first.
Well, especially since at the time, like way back in the day, sci-fi and fantasy fandom was a total sausage fest.
Right.
So the women who came up through fandom were like tough bitches, right? And usually really cool. Mercedes Lackey is a little... I'm trying to think of how to say this without saying any pejorative words. She's done some very strange things.
A little unbalanced.
Yeah, so I'm going to have in the show notes, there is a great write-up available of what happened at DragonCon in 1997. It includes a man who says that his name is Pony White, and I don't think it even has anything to do with the companions.
See, I haven't even heard of this, and I'm not even, like, big on, you know...
It's paranoid. It's like, I've always heard that her husband, Larry Dixon, don't fucking sue me, I'm just saying the gossip, is like super controlling, and that maybe she's been kept away from the real world. But she also, so she was
he just keeps her in a room and makes her write fantasy.
Well, they technically co-write, but... Who knows?
This motherfucker.
Also, the best thing about her used to be that her jacket photo was the Glamour Shots photo.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the best.
Well, I don't like Larry.
No, I don't like Larry either.
I bet Larry is not co-writing shit.
Right? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Don't sue me, Larry fucking Dixon. But if you do, I will drag you for filth all over the internet, and it will be super fun. So, like, you don't want to go there. But
come at me, bro.
The other thing you might know her from is that the very year that she got like Grandmaster status at the Nebulas, she got thrown out of the Nebulas, and I kind of like she's not old enough. There's no such thing as old enough that it's okay to say, well, you know, grandma just doesn't know the current not racial slurs. But what happened was in a panel where she was talking about Samuel Delaney, who I thought was dead, but is not dead, called him colored. And she said that she kind of like meant to say person of color or people of color. And she like fumble mouthed. And people who were there were very upset. And, you know, obviously it must have been very distressing, especially if you were a person of color, to hear this woman, you know, who's so held up in the fandom to say that word. At the same time, I can see how you would do that because you're trying to get it right. And
yeah, you just get in your own mouth, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm not going to come down one way or another on the Mercedes Lackey ban from the Nebulas.
But we could talk about her DragonCon experience where Pony White, she was saying like assassins were after her.
Yeah.
I just don't think she knew where she was. Like, I think she was like, what is happening?
Well, I mean, like, I think that maybe she had like, you know, either she was super paranoid or somebody had made her super paranoid. Like, look, we got to look out for the assassins. Not that, I mean, like, seriously, people get stalkers like, whoa, who have these kind of fandoms. So, I mean, that's not crazy. But the fact that this guy says that he got in this big fight and somebody got arrested and there's no, like, you know, and no, this is all completely bullshit.
A little nutty.
But I can tell you that it is extremely entertaining to read and that you should totally go do that. So anyway, so that's who Mercedes Lackey kind of generally is. Do you want to read the back copy for this book?
All right. So the cover is amazing. The cover has a beautiful white horse and it's got this young. For the moderns, for the Z's and the
alphas, are they alphas?
The Z's, the alphas, and the baby millennials. He looks like Timothy Chalamet or Chalamet. But for the olds, like me, he looks like a mixture of Peter Coyote and one of the Carradines.
But he looks like he's been crying a lot.
He's all angled.
He's wet.
He's wet. He's got a very pretty purple thing on. Anyway, so this is the back cover. The Vanyel has been born with near legendary abilities to work both Herald and Mage magic. He wanted no part of such things, nor does he seek a warrior's path, wishing instead to become a bard. Yet talent such as his, left untrained, may prove a menace not only to Vanyel, but to others as well. So he's sent to be fostered with his aunt.
That's not what happened.
I know. I know. And with his aunt Seville, one of the famed Herald mages of Valdemar.
Valdemar.
But the strong-willed and self-centered Vanyel, well, I mean, he is
That part's right.
is a challenge which even Seville cannot master alone, for soon he will become the focus of frightening forces, lending his raw magic to a spell that unleashes terrifying were hunters on the land. And by the time Seville seeks the assistance of a Shanaian adept, this is why you want me to do this, so I had to read all these. Vanyel's wild talent may have already grown beyond anyone's ability to contain, placing him, Seville, and Valdemar itself in desperate peril.
That's all wrong, though, because
It's terrible. It's terrible.
I always figure I've never heard any of these words said aloud. Shanaian are like the plains people, who are like the other kind of people to the Teledris, who are the people they go to see.
Oh, here she goes.
Uh-huh.
No,
That's bullshit.
No, that was not anything that happened. Like,
No, none of that happened. I mean, like, some of it happened, but
not
like,
that way. So, okay. So I'm going to try to describe the things that happened. And so Sarah can.
Okay, I'm ready. I have a glass of wine.
Okay. Oh, and we're drinking today. We are drinking Prophecy because I went to the IGA, and I don't know if y'all have IGAs, but God help you if you do. Because the only thing that IGA has a really good stock of, wildly, are Hot Pockets. An entire freezer row, like one of those almost whole freezers of
I thought you were
Hot
going to
Pockets.
say like lard and chitlins.
No, Hot Pockets.
That's like the one place where
It's
I
like
know you can get chitlins.
100 Hot Pockets. Like variations of Hot Pockets.
People who don't want to eat chitlins.
I guess so. But like, I did buy my husband, we like to do this to him because he hates like clutter. My friend and I would go occasionally. We'd just buy one of those like 10-pound things of something like pickled eggs or whatever, just to like milk them with.
I will eat the shit out of a pickled egg.
From the IGA, because that's all you can get there is. Well, their fanciest wine was Prophecy. And it goes into the book because old Vanyel ends up having some, like, he's got the gift of foresight or whatever they call it. But
Everything is capitalized.
yes.
Yeah, it's got like Winnie the Pooh caps throughout because everything that you could possibly do that's useful, like, the things that you do all your time, like typing and shit, it's capitalized.
Okay, so old Vanyel is like 15, 16. He is too beautiful. He is too pretty for this world. He's a young slip of a thing running around. His dad is like some kind of, not a king, but he's an important guy. He's got his own little castle.
He's a lord.
He's a lord. Withering. Within. So he's the oldest. He's got a little brother who's more manly than he is. Everybody's like, because Vanyel, like 2 years ago, had some bards come into town who were like, look at this hot young piece of thing. And we're like, you could definitely sing. You can sing. You should be a bard.
Oh my God, you're so good.
Yeah, and so, like, Vanyel becomes like, I just want to be a musician, guys. I just want to play my music, and nobody understands. You make me run around with this sword all day. I hate you. I hate everybody. So he's very small, and again, I think this is cool. Like, so obviously the way that he's being trained to fight because he's a dude and, he's a lord, he's a baby lord. Like, he's going to have to learn how to fight with the big, stupid.
That's not actually true because when he gets later on.
Okay, but in the book, they're trained, like,
that's what they're telling him because he doesn't know any better. He has a very limited understanding.
He and his sister have been like, his sister's all badass and tough, and, she's the sister, so she gets to do whatever the fuck she wants. They don't care about her because, what is she?
Which is weird because you think that they would, like, be demanding that she, like, be married, like, usefully.
No.
But I guess, like, she's just so obviously like, oh my God, she's so lesbian. We have to send her to the.
Yeah, that nose, she's got a big old lesbian nose. We got to get her out of here. That nose is too lesbian for the likes of us. So it's very much kind of, he is trying to learn a lot of what, like, if you thought about it, like, in terms of, like, our medieval period, it's all the people in the lumbering armor, and he's trying to learn kind of like this,
like, Renaissance fencing.
Or I was thinking more like, what, like, Spanish Moors and like North African are doing, like wearing the lighter. Like, he's got on light. He's like, let me train this way. Let me try this. And he's got on like really light armor. And
you're saying he's going to win the Crusades?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
No, but I'm just saying, like, he's taking influences that are different, and it adds to his own differences. And so his dad hates it. He's got one of those dads. He's got a, a Brokeback Mountain dad. For like
and the Orange Master is Jervis, and Jervis is like hates it even more than his dad hates it. Like it is rages Jervis. Mm-hmm. So like when you first see the starting, Jervis is like just busting his arm.
Yeah, he breaks his arm.
Yeah, which you said to me like that's not like a Orange Master's job. That's a dad job.
Yeah, that's like it was like spite arm breaking just because like the kid had done okay, but he's obviously had no. The only affection he gets is from his mom, and she's very like coddling and cloying. His dad, his brothers, and everybody in the castle hates him because he's too pretty. It's the woe is me to be so beautiful and a man.
Well, also his mother is always throwing these ladies in waiting at him, which is like really fucking awkward.
Yeah, and so he's got this like
he doesn't know you can be gay, but you, the reader, are aware that he is gay long before.
Yeah, we're in it. We're like, oh, well, we know what's going on. Or as I guess you, the reader, is like a 40. As older than Seville now.
Oh yeah, maybe not a 10-year-old reader like I was. Like, what is this?
But so his dad is just constantly on him. He's very shy and very down on himself, and he's also a little bit of an asshole. So everybody hates him. They think he's too snobby and that kind of stuff. So Vanyel gets his arm broken by Jervis, and he essentially, spends months recuperating because it's an arm break. Like, that's some serious
And he's like,
shit.
I'll never play the lute again.
My fingers.
It's all over for me.
Yes. And so when he finally gets well enough, his dad, he's hiding around, and because he doesn't want to be around anybody. He doesn't want to be around Jervis. He doesn't want to have to fight him. He doesn't want to see his dad.
These people are all pretty shitty to him.
They're so shitty to him. And you can like there is a very
But he's also an asshole. Like
but it felt like it's very much this otherness about him that
it's a situation where like they treat him like shit, so he treats them like shit, so they treat him like shit. It's
kind of like that Liz, like the episode of 30 Rock where Liz Lemon talks about going to her reunion and she doesn't want to go because everybody was so mean to her, and then she gets there and they're like she was the bully of the school and didn't even know it.
Yeah, that's what I would be. Yeah.
Yeah. So, his dad tells him, like, well, you know what? I've done all I can for you. You're going to see my sister, Seville.
See, I always assumed it was Savile, but then again, I never heard anything said.
Like,
we'll go with Seville just because it sounds more fantasy.
Like a Cadillac.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't understand why this is supposed to be a punishment. Oh, I'm sorry. You had to go to court.
I know.
And not like traffic court.
He's like all scared about it because he's got this image of this aunt in his mind, but from like the jump, it's going to be awesome.
You get to go to school.
Spoiler alert. It is awesome.
It is awesome.
So he gets there, and I guess there's like a bunch of different. He meets the king once, but the king is kind of like a non-entity so far. He's like, "Hey, king, what's up?" And then
it's a queen at the time, actually. It's a king by the end of it.
So Seville is just like she's no nonsense, but she's not mean to him. She's just.
I think she's the self-insert character.
Yeah, she's like, "Hey, puny, we got to get you doing something. Like you got to be not useless.
Yeah, you got to go to school."
And so I guess. There's different brands of magic. So they go and test him for bard magic, and he doesn't have bard magic.
So they just break his dreams, like break it into little pieces in front of him.
They're like, you sing pretty good, but you just don't have bard magic.
They're like, yeah, I mean, you sing good enough that we would totally have you here, except you had to be your dad's heir, so we can't. He'd never let us. Too bad. It's so sad. You can keep taking classes and shit, though, for freezies. He never pays for anything, so I don't know what
but he's like moping around and all
he's
sad.
Just everything to him is, and the thing is, this made me remember very much what it was like to be that age where everything was like this.
Yeah, no, it is very.
Yeah. Oh my God. They tell you can't be a bard. You're only going to be a pretty good musician, and that's the end of your life.
So Seville has a bunch of like Herald juniors that she's training. Heralds, I guess, are like mage warriors. I don't know.
They're also judges.
I haven't gotten to the judges. There was no judging. Basically, what they do is like they use magic to be like pew pew pew. So
and spies and soldiers, and they're all kind of and they're generals.
Like they're cool. Like
they're
cool
honestly
group.
They're more like Jedi than anything
they're
else.
Like they were like the Top Gun crew.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the lead, like she's got a couple of them, and then she's got this one super hot one. She's got the Iceman. The Iceman of the Top Gun crew named like Tylendel or something.
Tylendel.
And so he's very handsome and very blonde and very gay and very out and gay. And he and Seville are like BFFs. She's kind of like a parental figure to him. They talk in their minds a lot. They're always just like, hey, what's up? What you doing? Oh, I hear you doing something.
Like they're texting. Like we do all day. Like, oh my God, you would not believe what bitch did at work. Yeah.
So she's like, hey, I need you to try to make friends with this kid. And he's like, I'll do it.
He's an asshole.
And he's like, he's so sad. And then Tylendel is like, you know what the fuck I can do?
I can what the fuck him.
Well, he says, I can fix him.
Oh.
He does that. But he does fix him, and he fixes him with his dick.
We should say, okay, so throughout this, Vanyel has kind of built up, I guess, a mental construct to, on the inside, make himself safer on the outside. So he like imagines like an ice prison.
He is the literal embodiment of the Simon and Garfunkel, I'm a rock,
exactly. I'm
an island.
But he gets to the point where it's kind of taken over his brain and he can't get out of it. And it starts to be, well, it turns out later to kind of be a prophecy of a spoiler, how he dies alone fighting an army in an ice canyon in the north, by the way. That's how he goes out. Just him and, you know, and his pretty horse girl. And that's it. And yeah, that's literally how he dies. So like they say the foresight is not necessarily like destiny. No, it totally is. That's it. But so he's having this and he feels to the point where he can't escape like the prison that he's built for himself.
He doesn't know what he's seeing is thus far.
So it's hard to tell how much of this is psychological and how much of it is magical, but he's come to a genuine mental crisis.
Yeah, and so when his aunt first met him, like however many years ago, she kind of assessed him and was like, nope, no magic here.
No,
and like,
only potential.
Yeah. And just was like, bye. So he starts hanging out with Tylendel, and essentially they fall foot first into bed and dicks into each other. And it's great. I mean, they're like so in love, and it's
just completely like 0 to 60 in the way that kids are.
Hundo P, like soulmates.
In it, win it.
And, you know, like Seville is like, hey, man, you know, to Lindell, as they should call him for short, to Lindell. She's like, I love that you're in love, but also this kid has like, he's essentially been touch starved and affection starved. So,
and he didn't know gay was a thing until literally 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And like, maybe he's going to depend on you too much. So maybe you should like try to like ease it back. And he's like, nah, man, nah, we're in it. So we find out Tylendel's sad story, because everybody has a sad story. He's got a twin brother. His twin brother doesn't have any magic powers, but he does. And his twin brother is the lord of some other place. Right?
Yeah.
But there's another guy that wants...
Or he might actually be the Lord's son, but yeah, he's the heir, I think.
He wants to take over...
There's a feud. There's a Hatfield-McCoy situation.
Yeah, it's like, there's another family that wants to take over. But I think they did kill somebody, and so that's why...
Yeah.
Like,
that's right. His their dad had been assassinated.
Yes.
It's very vicious, and like it's real for real. It's not like somebody slapped somebody with a glove. Right. I mean, this is Tylendel is not wrong to be so obsessed with this.
Yeah.
On the other hand, okay, so Tylendel is a Herald trainee. He's been chosen by a pretty princess horse. He is supposed to be.
We meet his horse. Her name is Gala.
I don't know. And so like he owes like to Valdemar, and he owes to certain ideals that he has agreed to do. So he cannot be involved in this. And because if he were involved in this and all the if all the heralds did that, then what would be the point of the government system that's built on pretty horses?
I guess. So these two are shacked up. They're having a great time. Vanyel meets the horse companion of Lindell. He doesn't like the horse that much at first, but then he gets over it, because Vanyel doesn't like anything other than...
He is very jealous of Lindell's
dick. Like,
everything.
That's all he like wants that dick so hard. And so one day, like they're just hanging out, and all of a sudden, like you find out that Lindell can kind of like... They got
that twin thing.
Yeah, they have the twin powers, like Dylan or like Brandon and Brenda. They have the twin powers.
Exactly.
So he like all of a sudden one night just starts screaming in like obviously terrible pain, and Van is there and the horse companion, and they pull him back from the brink, and you find out that he'd mind melded with his brother at the moment that his brother was murdered by this whoever. So instead of people being like, let's put this kid in therapy immediately, like This goes into why I have a problem with high fantasy and sci-fi insofar that, like, what we do is we give a lot of children and people going through puberty powers.
Yeah, that's why it's exciting to children.
And they always do the dumbest shit.
That's why, like, when you're the age or, like, realistically younger than these people, it's super exciting and you understand it. And as an adult, you're like, oh my fucking God. Somebody put him in, like, not permanently a rubber room. I'm just saying that a rubber room for right now would be not a bad idea.
My dude comes back after, like, however long of being in his, like, sadness coma.
But he almost dies of his sadness coma.
Yes, he
like
does. It's very serious sadness coma.
And Vanyel, oh God, has never left his side.
No.
And would do anything that Lendl asked because, like, this is the situation that they find.
So Lendel's like, hey, man.
I feel like Savile drop the fucking ball here.
Oh, she really did.
Yeah, because, like, she should have been a little bit more on that.
I'm saying, like... Okay.
Does she think that, like, Lendl wasn't going to do anything?
It's really... So Lendl, like, as soon as he wakes up, he's like, hey, boo. Good to see you. You're the thing I love the most. And then, like, counterweights it by being like, I need you to go steal these 2 books because I'm going to create... Like, he doesn't tell him what he's going to do. He's like, I need these 2 books.
And again, Vanyel is, like, 16. So, but still, I wasn't fucking stupid when I was 16.
Lendl's only 17. He's not that much older.
No, but I mean, Vanyel should have had some idea. Vanyel doesn't know anything about this stuff.
He's very innocent and, like, he's the one that's, like, very, like, closed off from the world. So.
And yeah, Vanyel doesn't know anything about any of this stuff. So he doesn't know anything about magic or any of the rest of this. But he should have known that this is, like, he should have told that.
Yeah, but also I'm putting all the blame on Seville.
Yeah, the adult in the room. Yeah.
So he goes and gets these 2 magic books. And
she probably thought the companion would fucking handle it. She outsourced parenting to a horse.
Exactly. And then this is like, I think that Lendl is a little bit shady for a couple things. Is that I think Lendl knew how strong Vanyel was. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm going to use your power to make a gate to go to, like, this kingdom.
You find out later that Lendl must have known that they were life bonded, which means in love, but, like, in a magic way.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. But anyway, so, I mean, it is a very juvenile way to think about these wolves' relationships. Let's put it that way. But, yeah, so the Lendl, because the only way you can do that is if you're life bonded to somebody. Normally, you can't just go around stealing people's power unless you are a bad wizard.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but, like, so I guess, but I think he also knew that Vanyel had this power that nobody else knew he had.
But the Vanyel would, of course, say yes. Like, he knew that, you know.
He's a shitbag.
Yeah, he kind of is. Well, okay. He's a traumatized teenager.
Well, yes, he is, but he's also a little bit of a shitbag.
He is a little bit of a shitbag, yeah. Because he used Vanyel. And, I mean, so...
anyway, so he basically uses Vanyel as a human, as a portable battery. Like a portable battery, like a car battery. It sucks his life force out to make a gate, like a port key.
Yeah, because you have to make your gate. You can't use it with any other power but yourself. And so, or somebody, you know, your life bonded person that you can steal from them.
So he makes his gate and he shows up to the kingdom and everybody's having a good time. And that pisses him off even more. So he calls down these, like...
They're called Weirsa. They're like a really evil greyhound, sort of.
Yeah, like big old mean dogs. But then what happens is, like, again, an adult could have come in and been like, sorry, nothing to see here. Like, killed those things off. All of a sudden, Lendl's horse, again, this is a 17-year-old boy. Lendl's horse shows up through the gate. And, like, instead of being like, hey, man, let's talk this out. She's like, I don't know who you are.
Well, the Weirsa are really bad.
And then runs into the dog mouth and just lets the dogs kill her. So essentially dooming this kid to death.
Yeah, well, he knew what he did.
Yeah, but I mean, still, like, and then, like, the only person that died, I think, was, like, the perpetrator of the crime and the horse. And so Seville shows up finally. Well, I think that Vanyel he blows up like a transformer.
Yeah. Yeah, just like sparks and shit. And blows up. So all of the potential he had in his brain, they keep saying channels. So let's go with channels. Just blows them the fuck open.
Yeah.
You know?
So anyway, so he opens up, or like he basically does that thing like the Highlander does, where it's all like bleh, and he's shaking around.
Like one of those things outside a car dealership, like the man who wiggles.
And it almost kills him. Well, they get back to the castle, and then Lendl's ass is just like, bye. It like does a very dramatic crow swan dive off of a tower.
Yeah, like they lost track of him. Like they were supposed to keep eyeballs on. Of course, the thing is, maybe they were like, okay, well, let's not make this any harder than it has to be, because they know he's gonna do it. Because, like, well, for one thing, companions almost never do that. Like, you're in it to fucking win it because they don't pick wrong.
The horse was a bitch. Like, again, like you said, he's a traumatized 17-year-old. Nobody had been hurt yet. Like, help minimize the damage.
Once he brought those things in, though, those things are like these, like, they're not just like greyhounds with big teeth. They're like,
yeah, but nobody, like,
evil.
only one person died other than the fucking horse.
Well, because she went and she killed at least one of them.
Yeah, but that's why she did this. It was like Catholic mom guilt. That horse was like, I'm so disappointed in you. I'd rather be dead than be around you. Like,
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's not great. I'm not saying that, like, you should do that with your children. I'm just saying that, like, it was a more dangerous situation than just, like, whatever.
big old dogs.
Yeah, it's not just some big old dogs.
I don't know. Those people had it.
I bet they're I mean, honestly, I hear a thing that kind of looks like a dog, and I'm like, who's a good puppy?
I kind of team Lyndall on this one. Like, get yours, son. Get your vengeance.
Vengeance.
So he like Eric Dravens off of the tower. Like, very poetic. It's very beautiful. His arms are out. His blonde hair is flowing.
But the good thing is he gets the good funeral because the bell rings. So the bell thought he was a herald. I'm like, well, I guess Gala didn't agree. Like, what?
So,
and then they all lose track of Vanyel. They are terrible.
like, yeah, 2 days later, Vanyel's like, I just want to see him. And he can now read minds. He's got all these powers that nobody has told him shit about.
But they're like, they hurt and it's all horrible and everything.
And it's
they
all
need to put
blamed
some
at
air
him.
tags on these children. They cannot keep track of the children they are responsible for.
And, like, he's hearing mean things about him. Like, why did Hot Lyndall have to die? Why not this one?
And there's also, so now that he can read minds, like, he can catch on some homophobia from some people too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So he's like, I just want to see his
Little
body.
pervert.
So he goes into the chapel, and there's beautiful Lyndall. It's like, is he not, like, squashed from the fall? I guess not. Maybe it's just his brain.
There is this is grim. There is a picture of a woman who threw herself off the Empire State Building, like, in the 40s, and she looks beautiful on the card that she crushed, but evidently she was like a sack full of vegetable soup. Like,
yeah. Oh God. So he's all beautiful. I guess he must have fallen backwards though.
Yeah.
Well, he knew this is how. Like, he was like, I gotta look hot for my funeral. So Vanyel goes and sees him, kisses him one more time, and then, like, does some Romeo and Julieting where he, like, cuts his wrist, but he doesn't cut him the right way.
Yeah, he locked the doors, but, like, they're, like, trying to bust down the,
They finally get to him. Oh, and meanwhile, all of a sudden, he's got a companion.
Yeah, he got chosen by Ephandes. Yes, that is with a Y. That is the most fantasy goddamn horse name.
And she's the most special horse.
Yeah, she's Grove-born, which I guess means she's one of those, like, fucking archangels or whatever.
And, like, she's never had she hasn't been interested in anybody until this kid. But, of course, he blames himself for Lyndall's death and everything.
See, what keeps happening is that, like, they find this child dying, they get him in bed, they fix him up a little bit, and then he wanders off again and tries to die again. And they find him again, and they drag him to bed again, and then again, it just keeps happening. Like, y'all, just put a fucking alarm on the door or something. Have you considered that?
I mean, y'all got this whole ass magic business. This whole fucking magic business. You can't make a thing to be like, hey, a tracker on him. You can't put a tracker on this kid.
And, okay, so he doesn't really understand what being chosen means because nobody told him, like, oh, if you die now, Ephandes also has to kill herself. It's just in the rules, son. Yeah, it's been 3 days, but still, she'll just do it. So,
that's number one. You got to tell.
Yeah, I would want to know. Like, watch the mushroom she eat.
So he's wasting away, and, they're trying to bond him with the horse by, like, throwing him at the horse ever so often, but it's cold.
And then meanwhile, like, the guy they have watching him is like, you little fucking pervert. I mean, like,
well, he did that. That's what made him try to kill him.
Yeah, and the guy felt really bad, but it's not like he unhomophobed himself overnight.
Well,
He's still around.
Might have. I don't know. I think he might have. I think after he saw the depth, because once he could read that kid's mind and see the depth of his love, and he's like, love is love.
Yeah, okay, but if you kind of truly read somebody's mind, they don't change hundo p overnight.
Well, no, but I mean,
eventually this guy totally came around, and you see him later in the book. But I mean, if you come from a super conservative religious background, which this guy did come from, you don't just all of a sudden by one mind read.
No, but I think it's very okay. think it's realistic.
Oh, no, I agree. But I'm just saying that if you can read minds, that guy should not be within 20 miles of you, you know?
Again, so his sister shows up, and she's like, hey, I need you to live. Then his dad shows up, and is like, and he gets like the reading, the riot act of the century. It's amazing. And he's like, can I see him? And he like sees his son, and you know, at first he's like, yeah, get. And then the kid gets up and like throws him around with his mind for a little bit, and then lays back down.
Yeah, well, he's had a day.
So finally, Savile, whatever, is like, hey, I'm going to take you to people who are better at this shit than me.
Yeah, we're going to, like, the Betty, okay? Because this is not working out here at Charter Rivers.
So they end up at, like, you know, she makes a little, whatever, gate, and it's always very hard. It's wild to me that the hardest thing to do as, like, a magic person is make a gate.
I don't know. It makes sense to me. You're trying to make one place be somewhere else.
I know. I get that. But you can also blow shit up with your mind.
Yeah, I can blow shit up with dynamite, but I can make somewhere be somewhere else. I had to get on a plane.
So she gets to this place, and all of a sudden we have
magical natives.
Okay, so we meet these magically beautiful.
They're very in harmony with nature.
They've all got like blonde hair.
We'll talk about whiteness later in this. They are all bonded to hawks instead of pretty ponies. The hawks aren't as smart as the pretty ponies, but yeah, like they're all beautifully dressed in little camouflage outfits, and they have a lot of hot springs, and they live in trees.
Their house is kind of awesome.
Yeah, their house is like legit.
And right. They've all got like hippie woo woo names. Like there's Moon Dance and Shadow Splicer or something. I don't know.
Starwind, I think.
So they can heal his mind. Like they had a healer work on his body. Now they got people working on his mind. And Moon Dancer, or who the fuck ever is doing that. And you're like, oh, all right, Moon Dancer. Hey, what's up? You're kind of hot. And he's like, kind of flirting with our boy when he finally.
But this dick is life bonded to somebody else.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you get the shower, you know. Who do you think undressed you? I've seen your dick, you know.
The thing about the Hawk brothers that comes out in every single time they ever come up in all these books is that, so they have a really fucking dangerous job. Like as a culture, they have to like cleanse the magic that's left over from the Mage Wars. So their reward from that is they get these awesome little vales, which are like little tropical wonderlands in the middle of the wilderness, and they have awesome spas. They have like sweet ass hot springs. They have like little secluded pools, big community pools, like the spa.
I feel like they're swingers.
Oh, I think so too. I don't, you know. Yeah.
I got that kind of feeling. That they
yeah,
kind of
you know. Mm-hmm.
So Moondance and Hawkeye, I don't know his name. The other one.
It doesn't really matter.
They're all like, you find out that like essentially when Lindell used Vanyel as a battery, he opened up all of his ports. All of his ports got open.
Yeah, his USBs are all turned the right way around.
He has every magic that there is except for barding. So he could never.
No, he gets barding too. No, he actually gets barding. Like, fuck you, consolation prize.
Well, that must have been because like
it's your year's supply of rice-a-roni, the bardic gift.
Well, in this one they were like at first like, well, he had everything but barding or something.
No, he had barding.
Right, anyway, so they're like, you're the most strong and the most powerful, and you got to get a handle on this shit or you're going to combust. And he's like, everybody leave me alone. I'm so sad.
I just want to be in this hot spring or this hot spring.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, same.
So he's moping around. Moondance tries to talk to him, tries to tell him his own personal tale of woe.
But Vanyel has no room in his brain because he is 16 for anybody else's experience.
There's like no empathy.
You don't understand me. Obviously, your story is bullshit.
And I get it. Like, he gets mad because, like, Moondance's story is kind of bullshit. Because, like, he's like, oh, I killed this kid that I had a fling with, and I feel guilty about it, which is awful. And you know what? Like, yeah, Moondance is sharing the story, but he's like...
It doesn't map 100% onto my experience.
But also, he's like, I'm 16, and the love of my life just died. I'm supposed to, like, this is it for me. Which I still call bullshit on this whole, like...
Oh,
thing.
my God.
But... So he's like, I'm going to run away. Here I go. So he does the run away thing.
Well, I think, does he overhear them? And this is what always happens, is that he overhears something. He doesn't understand it. And I should just go.
No, I think he just got so mad that he just decided to go.
I should just go. And he knows that this is a dangerous fucking neighbor. Oh, he has another scary dream about the whole
That's why
thing.
he left.
Yeah.
So he left because he has this dream essentially about, it's his foresight.
Yeah, this is the real foresight.
About
this is how
him
I die.
dying alone and the ice and the snow.
And he feels like
sad.
part of it is that he knows now, he's got all these gifts. And he's got a companion. They're gonna expect him. I don't like this either about this. That the idea is, if you cannot be entirely self-sacrificing, if you cannot live your whole 100% life for other people, then what are you even fucking doing?
Yeah.
You can't just be some self-sacrificing, whatever. No, for these people, it is all or nothing. And he's like, I don't. So he never understood that about when Lendl would say, no, I have to help people because I'm a herald. I have this calling. It's the thing that I have to do. He hasn't felt that.
I'd also just not take anything Lendl said at face value, because Lendl turns you into a human, car battery and tried to kill a bunch of people.
Right. So maybe Lendl didn't have the whole. But
He's
he's getting. Yeah. He's getting this from Savile and everybody else too, though. That so what a herald mage does is just burn himself out for other people. Just fucking.
This is why I don't like these books where teens and children.
So I don't love that, but and he's like, I don't know that I feel that way, and so he just leaves. He just leaves, and so he's very distraught because he's had this vision. So fair enough, and it was a real true. He does die this way.
He does. He sneaks out. He mind blocks his horse and all this stuff, but then he's walking, and he's like, you know what?
This was stupid.
I'm done feeling sorry for myself. He's like, these people care about me, and what they're trying to say is that they may not care about me in the same way that Lendl does, but they want to share my pain, and they all have their own pain. So he all of a sudden does a quick grow up.
And he also realizes I am fucking lost. I am in a place that I know is dangerous. It's the middle of winter. There's snow everywhere. My God damn it.
I got a damn magic horse that is special as fuck that I haven't said 2 words to.
Yeah.
That I've been ignoring her ass. I maybe should go stop being a little prick.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I'm good. And then as soon as he does that, his brain wave, his spidey sense goes off, and there's trouble.
He hears people screaming for help.
There's trouble in the Vale or wherever the fuck.
No, so it's in the regular people.
I don't know what the fuck it's called.
It's the regular smallholders who are not Hawk brothers. Anyway.
So he goes to this farm, and there's a big old snake thing.
Yeah, a beautiful crystal dragon thing. And he's scared, and he doesn't know what to do. Because, of course, he doesn't know what to do.
He's a 16-year-old boy.
No training, no nothing. Meanwhile, all the grown-ups are out dealing with, the other ice drakes, I think. Dealing with its infestation somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what he's found, is the queen of the ice
drake. They're looking isn't there a queen here? There should be a queen here. There's not a queen here because there's
Again, I don't understand how they don't have, in all this magic shit, any kind of, mapping, tracking system. There's not a GPS magic spell?
No, because that would be too many capital letters. So it's just him, and he has no training. He doesn't know how to use any of his gifts, and he sees this little old man. There's a woman and a child.
Minds. Yeah, he reads their fear and reads all that,
and they're being mind controlled by the monster.
Well, it's got him in kind of a hypnotism.
Yeah.
But he can still read their real pain and their real fear. And so he reads the mind of this little old man who's like, well, I can do this. I can go and buy them enough time knowing that he's going to die.
And this little old man does get eaten.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does not act in time to stop this little old man.
No, but that little old man spurs him to do a thing, and he basically blows the thing up. But he's from the last time that he's tried it, he learned to shelter the people and then just basically bring down he Thor hammers this snake worm. So he
learns then to altruism. He learns.
He gets the horniness call for Magin for
because he'll never be horny for anybody else again because at 16 love is over for him.
Fucking his thing.
Oh my God. So so he understands a little bit about this idea of sacrifice.
Everybody shows up after the fact. They're like, hey, good job, kid. You did an awesome job. And so he's like, yeah, thanks. And he's like, but I still let that old man die. I'm a coward. And, you know, Seville's really great. She's like, no, that's an experience. That's not cowardice.
Yeah, like, so you didn't know what to do?
She finally gives an adult speech. Like, she finally is like, hey, man, stop being so hard on yourself. I could have done some things. I could have done, you know, like they have a fucking conversation.
Oh, God, imagine that. She is very busy all the time. But
so they do find out that, like, there's just some guy letting
No, you know what this is. You know, and we've talked about this before. In war movies, when we were not constantly at war, there used to be a thing where, like that, like G.I. Jane or Top Gun, the whole movie would be about training, but then there would be a made-up event at the end because there's not a fucking war for us to be at. So a made-up skirmish or something. Yes. This is what this is.
So they're like, well, there's a guy who's just dropping these big old worms into everybody, like snake things, whatever, the mandrakes, loose drakes. Snow drakes, froze drakes, I don't know.
Drakes.
All right, anyway. So they got to find the source. And they're like, well, hey, buddy.
I bet it's a hot gay dude.
They're like, but they said,
spoiler.
Okay, they're like,
it's always a hot gay dude.
Like, Vanyel, you stay here with the townspeople because he's not going to show up here.
No.
He's going to go everywhere else but the town that he's terrorizing.
Also, by the way, we forgot in the...
You know what I would like my mage power to fucking be?
What?
Is organization and logic. Because none of these...
We already have that, though.
No, they don't. Because what they have said is they're like, hey, Vanyel, you're 16. Good job blowing up that one thing, but you're really inexperienced. So what we're going to do is you're in charge of all of
the place
people.
we knew where this guy was before. The one place we knew he's been.
The one place where he keeps going and taking people, but he's not going to...
We forgot to put this in trigger warnings. Like, it's not made, like, explicit that they're doing some kind of horrible, awful, extra magical sexual assault, but like there's a woman who like they try to fix and like, oh, well, we can completely take her brain back to toddler and have her start over, which is probably the best thing we can do, but no man will ever touch her again.
Yes.
Without her freaking the fuck out.
But
so like that's what's going on. They leave Vanyel in charge of this.
We're gonna go look everywhere but the place that we know that the man has been to several times.
Look, okay, so Courtney and I took our kids to the same summer camp this year, and check-in was such a not poorly organized thing that all we did for a week is talk about how we would do this better.
Oh my God, it made me so crazy. It made me so crazy. Like all of my type A-ness. I was like, I really could be. That would be my superpower.
Yeah. Let me just come in and fix this for you.
Let me just do this. Like, this is so insane. Why does everybody...
You should have seen me at my dad's ship reunion one year. I almost volunteered to run the next year's, which is how this happens. Because I was like, that's how I would have done this better.
Yes, exactly. So they've left him in charge, and he learns a lot about himself because he's having to talk to commoners.
He's never understood. He's always been kind of scared of commoners, but he's never understood why his dad is actually really good with like the people who like the serf. They're not serfs, I guess. They're free people. I don't know. They give up their taxes to horses.
They're peasants.
Yeah.
They kept saying peasants.
So, the people who work as farms and shit. Like,
oh, because we didn't mention this before. Sorry. We're all over the place. It's like me and Sara on our first date because we haven't done this together in so long.
Are we going to kiss at the end?
Yeah, maybe. Play your cards right. So, Moondance, we found out, who is now tall, blonde, and beautiful and looking like an elf and all this stuff, you know. When he showed up was just a paunchy, fat Sam looking dude from like Game of Thrones. But because he does all this magic, they're like, well, the magic demands that you be hot. And I'm like, you know what? I would like to go to magic camp if it's going to like make me like, give me some inches.
I mean, would it make me have to like be completely 100% burn myself out on behalf of other people? Because quite frankly, as a public librarian, already there, not much more sacrifice.
I'm always like team villain because like, no, I'm not going to do that. Anyway. So Vanyel's trying to train people, and then he like gets a lesson because it's like he puts himself in Jervis's shoes, and he's like, "I need to train you the way that you know how to do things," and
and maybe he starts to understand a little bit about like, oh, this is how Jervis got there.
Yeah, it's a learning lesson. But anyway, guess who shows up?
The evil gay sorcerer.
The evil.
I'm thinking about all the bad guys in all these Mercedes Lackey books. There's a lot of evil gay sorcerers. Kind of think of it.
This outfit. Hold on. So he meets the wizard Creeben.
And the thing is, he's like, whoa, it's a hot gay dude. Maybe I'm confused. Do I want to fuck him? I've only met one other gay guy.
Yeah.
2 other gay guys. Wait, 3 other gay guys. Maybe I just want to fuck him.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like you need more dick if you get that confused by
he's
dick.
16 and he's horny as shit. Like, that's what they do. So, like,
Yeah, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should just fuck him for the rest
the
of my
wizard
life.
is mean as fuck and is like, I'm going to torture these people unless you come out. And he comes out and he's like, my name is Vanyel. He's like, that's who I was looking for. Hey. And then they make out for a hot minute. And Vanyel's into it a little bit. He's like, all right now. And he's like, but wait, no. And then he blows up the wizard. And you don't know exactly what happens.
I assume it was like little splattery rain. Just
he
like,
wakes up later, like 4 days later, and everybody's like, congrats, you're now a herald. And he's like, what? And they're like, yeah, man, you got your white suit.
yeah, like we're not doing any fucking training.
No, you're
that
good.
that was 101 and 401. That was the whole thing. You're good.
Insane. And that's how the book ends. And I was like, what? But
Do you want to know what happens in the other books?
I do. I have to be
Do you want to read them or should
I kind of do. Maybe I'll read them. I might want to do another one and do.
Okay. No, absolutely. I will not spoil it because, well, I mean, you've already been spoiled. Okay, it's Vanyel. That's the last Herald Mage.
Oh, it's going to be sad. I know. But
Yeah, it's just fucking grim. But no, I really enjoyed. So I reread the other two. Now, see, this is the one that I read and reread and read.
Oh, I very much enjoyed
because of
this.
the whole thing with Tylendel and like they were so toxic and so beautiful and oh my god.
But it also is really well done. And I guess that leads us to questions and deep diving because it is a really well done kind of LGBTQ
Absolutely.
like story with love elements to it. I mean, it's not
I definitely think. Okay, I do think that this would now be YA.
Oh, for sure.
Not okay. There's been a lot of talk, right? Like in the last like couple days about like sexy YA. YA is for teenagers. If it is not directed at teenagers, then it's just a book that's different than that. I mean, like it should be for teenagers. This book is for teenagers.
I don't understand why people have a problem with sexiness in YA because, like,
Well, I think that people have a problem with sexiness in YA that's not actually directed at teenagers. It leaves teenagers kind of out of it. If you're writing books that are really for people who are 25 who quote unquote read YA, you're writing new adult.
yeah,
You know?
like that beautiful disaster, whatever. That's new adult. You know,
Like now they're actually like advertising YA books. Like there's this new one that they're advertising with like the like art that is like naked. So yeah, this to me, of course, back in this came out. We should have said in '89.
Yeah,
this this would have been in adult just because it was gay.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, like it would fit very comfortably into YA now because it is very much about the teenage experience.
Yeah.
It is about living in the ultimate, everything is so important. Like she
Yes.
gets it. She 100% gets
She
what it's like to
absolutely
be
does.
16. Yes. She might still be 16. You know, it's kind of like, you know.
So, big dick energy or big dick energy?
Well, we talked a bit about the character of Tylendel. I don't know. I like that he wasn't. So it's not too much of a spoiler to say that, of course, because Vanyel dies heroically at the end of the third one, it's nice to see a Herald Mage who is not the ultimately self-sacrificing, like a fucked up dude. All right, Tylendel was not good for Vanyel, absolutely at all whatsoever. But I don't know. I liked him for how fucking messy he was.
I think for me, the biggest dick in this is Mood Dance or whatever. I really liked him. I don't know. He's like supposed to be. You don't really know how old he is. You feel like he's younger than his life partner.
Yeah. He's much younger than his life partner.
Yeah, but that he's also like he's kind of new adultish in it, and that he might be like 20 or like
Yeah.
you know. But
Whereas Starwind is like indeterminate, possibly Savil's age. I don't know.
yeah, like, but I really liked him and thought like he was great. And I mean, I did like Tylendel and I like Vanyel, and I think that they're all, you know, Vanyel obviously is the more submissive person in a relationship because the whole thing is about how like Lendl takes over, like he just clings on and he kept trying to do it to other people.
Yeah, and he almost like the reason why he has a breakdown at the end is partly because other people are like, we can't let him keep doing this. He's got to.
But he's also
Yeah.
16 and you're like, yo, give him a hug.
Like, Jesus Christ, have you not? I mean, when you were 16, didn't you try on like other people like a mask all the time?
But I think it was also like maybe like there's a lot that like gets blown over that like what time is or you know, like I don't know. But yeah, Lendel's very hot and he's very secure and confident in himself, and it was really refreshing like when he like talks to Vanyel about like liking men, how forthright he is, and like Vanyel like first learning that like, oh, I'm not the only one. Like, and I think what's interesting is that that's what he says when he meets Lendl, and we'll get more into the like how that progression happens with our later questions. But yeah, Lendl is like, he's Iceman. Like, he's so charismatic and cool, and like everybody would want that.
But he's also very big in his emotions. Well, obviously, but like, you know, he's a theater kid. Okay. These are all theater kids, but I mean, like, the Lendl is like the star theater kid.
And then Vanyel is the theater kid that's writing like writing his own plays.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So speaking, and that leads us to, would you talk shit with or about the hero?
Yeah, so it's usually heroine in this, and so this is our chance to talk both about gender and about the main character. So I guess we can split it up a little bit. Poor Vanyel. I mean, like, reading it as an adult, I just want to shake them all. Like, oh my God, get over yourself. But when I read this when I was like 11, I was like, yes, he understands me.
He's like a Lana Del Rey song come to life.
Yeah, like, he is
so
sad.
So sad and so beautiful, and you know, it's just so hard for him.
I will give a little spoiler about kind of that, which I don't know if it goes in here or somewhere else, about the other books, is that it does actually a fucking great job about what happens when, ideally, not for most people, but what happens in this kind of situation where your family is a sack of shit, and you're gay, and you come out to them, and eventually they come around, they understand that they were assholes, and they have to apologize to you in a way that is realistic and human. They do a great job of that, honestly, in this book, especially in 1989.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so
this book is very,
let's not get bogged up in the gay stuff, because we'll talk about that
but
later.
Like, Vanyel is so, like, again, they keep talking about like how Seville and everybody else think that he's snooty and uppity and like da-da-da-da. I will say, like, my one, like, conceit problem with that is that you never see that with him. Like,
he seems self-protective.
Yes, he always just seems very like, he keeps to himself because that's his defense. I would have liked to have seen, like, him be
more of an asshole,
a little bit ridiculous, because he even admits that he's a little bit of a ridiculous person.
He's beautiful. He was his mother's pet in the bower with all the ladies, the fluttery ladies.
You kind of get it when he's flirting with one of them, like, to put them off the scent of him and Tylendel. You know,
if there had been more of that would have been smart, I think. Yeah, to kind of like get an understanding. For one thing, it makes people look like less like horrible villains for being like this asshole.
Right. Yeah. I think, and then like it makes him more well-rounded. But I mean, this is a very small complaint to have. All right. So Bechtel's a bitch.
Savile is great. His sister, whose name Lissa, is great.
Their relationship is great. I mean, they do only talk about Vanyel, but honestly, all anyone talks about in this book is
it's very Vanyel-centric. Also, like, there's bards who are women, there's guards who are women,
there's other mages, like
there are women fighters. I mean, like, this is a very the gender politics in this is quite good, especially for 1989. So his mother is like the one who's like this silly woman. Even she gets like seen with a softer eye in later books. She's never not a silly woman, but he gets affectionate about her being a silly woman, essentially, and sees her like with maybe a little more savviness and still like what she's doing in her life and like what she's stuck with in her life too. I mean,
think that's the other thing is like we're seeing this now through a 16-year-old boy's eyes. And like all he sees is like somebody who is silly and maybe not like, okay,
you're stuck in buttfuck Valdemar.
Yeah, what you have to do and like what you've had to do, one, to protect your son, and then two, like, you know, I mean, it's just like how you kind of grow up and realize like the things that your family has done for you.
Yeah, and just like what somebody's life is like, and is it what they wanted, and you know, all that kind of thing. So honestly, it's a bit of an adjustment because the main character is not a woman in this, but like later books definitely pass the Bechdel because it's all about ruling Valdemar. So, you know, when it comes to consent, is this book more Robin Thicke or Marvin Gaye?
Now we're basing it on this book.
Yeah.
We've, you know.
Yeah.
There's trigger warnings. Like when we do the other books, we'll talk about this. But in this book, all we have is like some aggressive kissing from a gay wizard.
Yes.
And I put gay on that because that wizard is letting you know from the jump how gay is, and we'll get to that when we get to outfits.
And honestly, I kind of think that this wizard is like, I'm going to threaten you with my gayness. And Vanyel's like,
Okay, yeah, he's got to pass this first trial. But yeah, everything is very consensual.
So honestly, all the relationship-oriented sex in this is very positive and I mean, probably very carefully so, because of course this woman knows that she's writing maybe the first and maybe only book you'll ever read about a gay romance. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I
great.
feel like she understands the responsibility she has in this.
How badly are you judging your mama for reading?
My mama wouldn't have read a fantasy book, let alone.
Absolutely, she'd be like, "What? What's
I
happening?"
found out today that my doctor reads military sci-fi. No, she's great. But I mean, like I just.
You're like, what? Okay.
Yeah, I've read and enjoyed like Honor Harrington, but yeah. Anyway, but would Scarlett Johansson be in the movie? This is the big one for this book because, like I said, this is the first gay romance I'd ever even thought about. Like when I was a kid, I was trying to reconstruct my what were my ideas about gay people, and
right.
You know, when I was reading this book, and I couldn't, because of course we had like the whole like, if you're wearing green and yellow on a Tuesday, you're gay.
Oh God, I forgot about all this.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what the idea, like, what does it actually? I must have had an idea that to be gay meant that you were a man who has sex with men or a woman who has sex with women. And I know that I'd see, you know, like, when you were a kid and if you were a young Gen Xer or an elder millennial, you didn't get to pick the TV you watched. So every so often you saw like an issues-oriented episode of In the Heat of the Night or whatever with your parents. Or maybe once on Murder, She Wrote, somebody was gay. You know... You were conversant with the concept, although I don't remember.
There was the Designing Women about the...
My parents wouldn't have watched Designing Women. My God, that was for gay people and
Oh my God.
people who knew gay people.
They had a really good episode on it. Speaking of what you're talking about, I cannot... I can almost remember the episode title, but they have to do... They're hired by this couple, and one of them has... They're hired by this gay couple. I think it's a gay couple, but they're hired by this gay man who is dying of HIV and AIDS, and he wants them to design his funeral.
And it was a very special episode.
No, I mean, it was, but not in a very special episode way. Like, he wanted a New Orleans style funeral and, like, you know, this whole thing.
Amazing.
It was really lovely. It was about, like, kind of him claiming his own, like, power. And then, you know, obviously they deal with some bigots and, like, you know, Julia Sugarbaker does a Julia Sugarbaker takedown. But that was a great episode. But yeah, I know exactly, like, there was, like, gay was a thing that, like...
You were aware, because of course, and also, like, we were the Ryan White generation.
Yes.
You know? But did I really have any idea?
Well, he died from transfusion.
No, I know, but I mean, like, we were always talking about HIV.
We were like it was like our Cold War. Like we were
our Cold War was against HIV,
but we were all like terrified of it.
And it was a whole thing like you can't get it from a toilet seat and that sort of thing. But so we were familiar with the concept. We must have been. But this is the first thing I remember of taking a man's romance with another man seriously. Like I know that I read. Because I read all these other books that we have sometimes like come in contact with either evil gays, like vizier gays, or comedy gays.
But there was no subtext with this. That was what was so nice.
This was, a man who loved another man, and their sex was amazing, and their love was the most important thing that would ever happen to them.
There's a really great speech in it, too, given by Moondance. Again, that's why I think Moondance has the biggest sick energy. Where he talks to, like, so I think what's interesting in this, there's a part where, like, okay, when he meets Tylendel... It's the first time that he really hears a man speak out loud that he's only attracted to other men. And that's a moment.
There's a made-up word. It's Shay Churn.
Yeah.
In later books, they just shorten it, and Vanyel doesn't even hear the slang.
Is it Shay?
It's Shach, which is really funny because, like, Vanyel comes back from the wars, and he's like, what the fuck is that? And like, oh yeah, well, you were gone. We came up with the idea of being gay. And he's like, what the fuck?
So there's this, okay, so like when he first hears like, or deals with the term is with Thandel. And like, so he kind of thinks like, okay, well, at least there's one other person. There's one other person and this is my person. And so after Thandel dies and he's in the Vale or where.
Lendel. You keep saying Vanyel.
Oh, sorry. All the elves. After the blonde one dies, The brunette one is sad, and he's in this veil area, like he's in the veil, and Moon Dance comes up to him and starts talking to him, and he starts talking about pairs in nature and how many animals have same-sex pairing in nature. And if that is a truth, then how can two men be unnatural, or two women, like just same sex? So it gives him this really cool kind of like, and it was like, I can't imagine how profound that had to be for somebody in 1989 who maybe was feeling like not seen to read that. Like, that's what I really thought about, because like it was a really great.
Well, but the other thing that he says, though, we alluded to it a little bit. He tells him his very tragic story.
Right. But I think taking, and we'll get but I think it's like this is a really incredible moment that I just was like hit me with this book, and like this is
this is the first time that you are a gay teenager who hasn't even like thought the word
right, and it's telling you that like if it occurs in other species and in nature, how can this be wrong or unnatural? Like,
which, I mean, yeah, it must have been a bomb. Because remember, this is 1989.
No, that terminology was so great and so it felt like something that was written today in that part,
Well, I do feel, I will say that it felt very dated in the sense, nothing about it is dated except for the need for the coming out narrative.
Right.
If this were written now, so like the whole idea behind the Kingdom of Valdemar is it's supposed to be essentially, and harm none, do as you will. Because there's people who come from very religious backgrounds who constrict whatever, and there's people who come from just all sorts of things, and it's like the motto is, are you ready? There is no one true way.
Right.
The crest of the Kingdom of Valdemar is a Pegasus with chains broken on its little footsies. But it does feel dated in the sense that a book written today in the same vein would not feel the need to have coming out narrative.
It was like important.
It was incredibly important. I mean, it was important to me, and I'm not gay.
I know, it was so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just the idea, like that there is really no need for any of this bullshit.
Somebody telling you that, like, who is also life mated to another dude, being like, hey, this is cool.
And so in these earlier books, I'm not sure if she ever did a trans character. I know that she did have some remarks that she says were taken out of character, and she has come out extremely specifically and says trans women are women, trans men are men. I mean, I don't know what the remark was that prompted that, but she has also, been quite, I think, specific in her support of trans people. And sadly, we're still at the same thing. We're still at the same, the nature discussion is still like the thing where you got to start with. But like for somebody like Vanyel, the nature discussion is utterly essential, that there is nothing wrong with you.
Yes, it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Scarlett Johansson would never be in this.
No.
Although she would really I want to talk about whiteness in this.
Yeah.
Not whiteness of skin. Honestly, Lackey never makes a big deal. There are a variety of browner skin tones, although she never comes out and says this person has very dark skin and very curly hair or whatever. But there are a variety of skin tones in her books. She could do a lot better about that. But it does have this kind of idea of magic and purity making you whiter, almost in an Anne Rice way. So
all these horses are fucking white.
That's because they are constantly bathed in magic. So, if you deal with node magic, so guess what? Ley lines. If you were into anything in the 70s, ley lines are in these books. If you dip in that node magic, your hair will eventually go white. So these guys are supposed to be mystic natives. They have darker skin, but they have white hair. And so will you if you deal with the no magic.
Again, it's this whiteness. So I was like, I don't like that.
There is always a value on whiteness. When you hear whiteness, let me bring you back to Herman Melville and the whiteness of the whale. Whiteness is never neutral.
I was like, I could have been totally the fun horses would have been much more fun to me if they were different color horses.
What if they were purple?
If they were different color representations of what they could do, not that, but just to have something. So it's oh, well, here's your white horse. Here's your white horse. It's boring.
How do you tell them apart?
Yeah, that's what I was like. How did the fuck they know? Other
They
than
know.
like mind talking to the horse, like, but they all look the same. It's just a
Their
white
each
horse.
is more beautiful than the next.
Well, yeah, and then like again, this like native mysticalness
Yeah.
of like dudes who just turn, they become more and more beautiful and get longer,
And they're so in tune to nature and their hawk friends. It's not great, that part.
Yeah.
It turns out like in the larger mythology, so there's two kinds of mystic natives. There's like plains natives.
Oh.
Who are there on the Shinyan are there to protect this giant plain. And they are like horses and bows and that sort of thing. And then there are the Teledras, the Vale, so the woodland. That's not great, y'all. This
might be the nerdiest thing I've ever said, but their whole vibe was like I just got, I played the Tears of the Kingdom game of Zelda. Is
Courtney played a video game,
the
y'all.
ancient Zonite people or whatever, like the old king. That's what that is. Like
They have, y'all remember those Earth stores that used to be in the mall?
Yes.
Okay,
Six bitches. Get my
Yeah, where you
stick,
get a
I'm gonna
race
adopt
stick
my
or-
wolf.
Or like a Galileo thermometer thing?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
That's
so
all
you would
about
buy a t-shirt that would have some kind of like deep quote on it, and
Yeah.
it would have somebody's like fucked up idea of an indigenous person. That's who the Hawk brothers are. They're that. They're not a real indigenous person
Yeah.
in any sense. They are the t-shirt indigenous
Yes.
person.
Yeah.
That part is not great. The LGBTQ
was great,
representation
yeah.
is fantastic, and it is throughout the series. Hundo P. Yeah, a lot of evil gay sorcerers, but then again, how many evil gay sorcerers have you met in your life? If magic were real, think about the people who you've met who would have been evil sorcerers.
Speaking of, that brings us to our "you're not leaving the house looking like that" question.
There are some outfits. Most of them are not that well described. The heralds wear ridiculous outfits that are not really described in this book, but there is a good one Courtney's got.
The wizard was a gaudy sight. He wore scarlet and gold, skin-tight breeches, close-cut, gold-embroidered velvet tunic, scarlet cloak with a cloth of gold lining. Even his boots and velvet gloves were scarlet. He had a scarlet helm that was more than half mask, ornamented with a preposterous crest of a rampant dragon in gold. With one hand on his hip, he tapped his chin with a gloved finger as he turned to survey the people surrounding the square. That outfit is insane.
Yeah, but he's just there to fucking torture them. Why does he even care what he looks like?
He is so dressed up for the nines in this insane outfit just to do some low key. He is doing peasant torturing, and this is what he wears for peasant torturing.
That might be Zex from Gundam Wing.
Can
I'm
you
not sure
think
it's
about
not.
like what he wears when he goes somewhere fancy? When there's fancy torture,
Where does he go that's somewhere fancy? He lives in the fucking Magic Hills.
But I'm just saying, if there's like a wizard meeting, a wizard convention.
Oh my god, can you imagine what they would all wear to the wizard convention? Oh, I would die.
Oh yes,
It would be like the Met Ball on steroids.
Oh my god!
Please. Oh my god!
Wizard shit happening, like just so wizardy all the time.
Also, I want to know what these people think close-cut breeches look like when there are no like machine-made knits and no spandex. No
all
artificial
breeches were
fabric.
close cut. They're all close
They're
cut.
not though.
Well, a breech, like if you get a breech though, like it is like a fairly close cut pant because it's not like breeches are closer cut.
Well, yeah,
'Cause it's
I
a
know.
horse riding pant. It's not a trouser. A trouser is a looser pant.
Yeah, but it's gonna not be tight all the way. You're not gonna get that Geralt of Rivia thing because it's gonna be
Bitch, this-
loose in the front
you tell
or
him-
loose in the back.
You telling me that this wizard can like drop werewolves or what the fuck ever, but he can't just make some pants?
It's gonna split out the back, motherfucker.
That man he learned, that was his first wizard spell, was how to make
Then
nut-tight
again,
pants.
he doesn't have a magical horse because he's a bad guy, so he doesn't have to get on a horse.
No, you know what? I'm just saying, like he's gonna have the nut hugging pants.
Okay, I'm just saying that
If I am a diabolical, flamboyant wizard, the first thing that I'm going to learn how to do is make pants that make my dick look huge.
well, you know what the real medieval pant is? Crotchless. That is the genuine medieval pant. So I'm just gonna guess that this dude is just actually
Dick out.
dick out.
He's always dick out.
Dick out.
They'd always have their little hose on. Their little hose.
Yeah, you have your split hose because that's how you actually get a tight pant in a non-synthetic fiber world.
But I'm saying, as a wizard, I like that we're putting like fiber arts into this fucking place where there's like golden snakes and shit. But like as a wizard,
silver.
as a wizard, the first thing I'm going to learn how to do is make myself hot and make my clothes hot.
Well, yeah, but would you make your clothes hot in a way that people who are looking at your clothes wouldn't understand?
Yes, exactly. If I'm a wizard, I'm fucking shit up. Absolutely.
No, I'm going to make my own clothes hot.
I am going to dress like fucking Prince at the VMAs or the Grammys and come in with assless chaps and be the weirdest motherfucker I can. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I know, but they have to be like legible to those people. Otherwise, how do they know how hot you are?
His dick is out, essentially. He's like, hey, here it is.
Yeah.
You don't know exactly what's hot and what's not and wherewithal or wherever the fuck we are. Like, anyway, I was all about this guy's outfit.
Oh, yeah. I'm all for it. There's no evil wizard that doesn't have an amazing outfit in any of her books, and like thumbs up for that.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. Was your 12-year-old self a dog eater 8 pagers?
I would have like tried to look at this like I was 8 years old trying to look up the TV to see if I could look up a skirt or something.
Yes.
Like I was.
You
like,
ever read A Logic Problem?
Oh
There's
my
like
God.
5 of us bringing something to the party, and Frank doesn't like seafood or like whatever. I was trying to parse this shit.
Yes, they go to bed and there's no talking after that.
I
like,
literally,
what does that mean?
I did dog ear these pages, and I would go back to them and try to figure out, how does it work?
It was hot.
How does it? What I was micro analyzing with a fucking magnifying glass. I had like the jeweler's loop on.
I would have been like, what? You know, yeah, because
they fuck.
They do, and it's it's explicitly non-explicit, but it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, they are very free sexually. It just is a closed door.
But she also like makes jokes about, or not jokes, but like it'll be a thing between Seville and Tylendel, and she's like, whoa, I came in at the wrong time, you know.
Yeah. So it's the weird thing is, it's almost like you wrote a romance novel that had explicit sex and you would just edit it out.
But also what's crazy is like, okay, the other thing that I'm going to learn first, like my 3 magic points that I'm going to learn first: hot pants. 2, fucking magical GPS.
Yeah.
3, essentially the magical version of a door, like a sock on a doorknob.
Jesus Christ, people are always walking in balls out.
It's just like, they're like, hey, I'm in your brain. Oh.
Then again, there's no privacy in the genuine middle age.
But also, like, what cracked me up was that, like
true medieval people had no privacy.
Yes, I know. Like, I totally on privacy, but, like, it's also like, hey, my horse likes to, like, boop, boop, I'm fucking. And he's like,
oh, okay. In the other books, it goes the other way. He's like, could you please not, like, could you, like, tone it down in my brain when you fuck the other horse?
Well, that's what Linda was saying about his horse. She was like, they too. She's like, ha, 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 I'm going to go get it with this guy. I was like, this is too much. I don't need to be part of all this. Like, so yeah, like, it's a horny book without sex, like, without a dick ever coming out.
It is super horny.
It's so horny. It's so horny.
Which is another YA thing about it.
Yes, it's like, it is like a fucking 90s video. You
can smell it.
All broody, and everybody's got eyeliner, and it's just...
But they just fucking all the time. It just sticks out everywhere, including the horse dicks, which is a little weird.
Horse dicks everywhere, too.
Yeah, just. They're not really horses. They're actually
but
dead
it was
people.
very hot. I think it was really cool that it was like...
Yeah.
You know what they're doing.
I was like, I would go back to these pages.
You're like, I missed something.
What is it?
What did I miss? No.
Give it to me.
Yes. So what pairs nicely with the dumpster fire?
It's got to be like a claret or like a medieval kind of business, a mead or a...
Yes. Have I told about Lindisfarne and Mead story?
Yeah, it just really disappointed me because I thought you would like mead, but you don't.
It's too sweet. I don't like things that are overly sweet, though. I'm not a big honey fan. I like hot honey, but honey, I'm not like crazy about. So I guess that's why. So should a person in the 21st century read this book?
Yes, absolutely.
I think so. I will say, I know. You give me shit about like high fantasy and sci-fi. I will tell you because we've done this one and we've done the Anne McCaffrey book. I like this one so much more because there's a pretentiousness about the Anne McCaffrey one.
Yeah. This is very
This one was much more accessible, and I really enjoyed it, and I really, really enjoyed the story to it. Like, I think that's part of it is like there's this very much this like for a lot of like this high fantasy stuff, it's kind of like you have to pass a test kind of thing. And I liked that this one was just like, hey, here we go. We're dropping you at it. It's cool. Like, let's do it. And I didn't have to read the other ones to like be involved or to care about it.
No, I do think it is a good, even though it is not the first one at all that she wrote, it is a good entry to the series.
No, it was like...
They don't... Well, I mean, honestly, I would slow roll the horses are the center of your system of government.
Oh my God, yeah, like that. But like it did, and it was like well written enough that like the whole like Tylendel like scene of him like trying to like vanquish his enemies and then kill. Like, it was very upsetting. It was very emotional. Like, I did get weepy over it. So it's a really incredibly well-written book.
No, I think it's solid. It really is.
I really enjoyed it, and I do want to read the other ones, and I think they'd be fun little, like...
Yeah, let's do this. Let's, like, every so often we don't know what to do, we'll throw in another...
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And see, so again, it's not that I'm, like, anti-fantasy. I'm just like, pretentious, like, you can't be part of our club fantasy.
Well, the other issue with the Anne McCaffrey book is that it does have that weirdness that it starts out as a short story.
Yeah.
And that they essentially put the short story lightly edited into the rest of it. So it does feel a little disjointed.
Yeah, but I like this a lot.
No, I enjoyed rereading this. I was nervous because and I also knew that that Mercedes Lackey is
little bit. We don't know what's going on.
But honestly, no, I feel like it's a decent recommendation. And I am not embarrassed about having been obsessed with.
No, this is a good book. I really enjoyed it.
And honestly, I can now look at this and trace like, oh my God, this is where I get to like KJ Charles and Alexis Hall and these authors that I love so much now, and you got your origin story. I do have my origin story and like queer horror, like Haley Piper and stuff. Like, okay, yeah, I imprinted like a Gosling on.
You should make it to go along with the show notes. Are gonna be like a little bit of like Sarah's reading recs to go along.
Shit, look, buckle up, motherfuckers, because I can certainly provide.
And speaking of, where can you find our show notes now?
You can still find our show notes at Bodice Stipplers, but we have a new little website. It's actually
it's very exciting.
Less website even. It's like simpler. But you can access, if you're a Patreon member, you can access Patreon only episodes. They're on the website. You don't have to leave it. You just log in right there. We are going to have, as soon as the strikes are over, we will have our new little Patreon only subscribers only special presentations on that. We don't have them yet because fuck the goddamn billionaires. But all right.
So this has been Bodice Stipplers. You can find us at our new website. Do we have the web page?
Yeah, it's bodicetipplers.com.
Bodicetipplers.com. You can find us on Facebook at Bodice Stipplers, Instagram Instagram Bodice Stipplers, Twitter and Threads, I believe, is Btipplers and Bodice Stipplers. And you can email us at bodicetipplers@gmail.com and find us at YouTube.
Bodice Stipplers is part of the Frolic Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts.